Athletics has featured at every Paralympics. With a total of 1,100 athletes, it draws the largest number of competitors and spectators to the Games and showcases the most events. All the track and field action is happening here at the Olympic Stadium, except for the marathon events which are taking place on the streets of London, where 4 gold medals will be contested. Paralympic Athletics Track. 96 gold medals are available on the track, entailing sprints, middle and long distance events from the 100 metres to the 5,000 metres. In the 100 metres, athletes can run at speeds of up to 22 miles per hour. The 5,000 metres for athletes in wheelchairs will take about 11 minutes. 90 seconds quicker than the fastest runners can achieve. Reaching speeds of up to 20 miles per hour, collisions are common. If they have a guide, athletes must remain within 50 centimetres of each other during a race. Only in the last 10 metres can they be further apart, and the athlete must finish ahead of the guide or face disqualification. During the longer distance races, athletes change their guide as they attempt to stay ahead of their rivals. In the wheelchair relay race, athletes don't carry a baton, but have to touch the body of the outgoing athlete in the takeover zone. If they touch before they reach the zone, they are disqualified. In relays for visually impaired athletes, either the athlete or the guide can carry the baton. Paralympic Athletics Field. The field competition provides 70 gold medals, 42 for men and 28 for women. The events are divided into throwing and jumping. All field events are finals, although if more than 12 athletes compete in the seated throws, the first part may be held in 2 pools, with the best 8 athletes coming together for a final 3 throws. A point score system similar to the decathlon and heptathlon point system in able-bodied athletics is used to decide the winner in mixed classification field events. This means that the person who throws furthest may not win the competition if they have less of an impairment than another athlete. With the number of athletes ever growing, expect to see distances increasing, times improving, and new world records being set. Let the Games begin. Swimming has featured at every Paralympics since the first Games in 1960. All the action is taking place here at the new state-of-the-art aquatic centre in the Olympic Park. Paralympic swimming, the stats. The Paralympic pool is the same as the Olympic pool and measures 50 metres in length and is 25 metres wide. There are 10 lanes, but only 8 are used in competition. Race distances range from 1 length of the pool, 50 metres, to 8 lengths in the 400 metres and the relay. Sensitive touch pads are used at either end of each lane to record finishing times. Paralympic swimming essentials. Athletes compete in freestyle, backstroke, butterfly, breaststroke, medley, and relay events. Competitors begin the race from the starting blocks or from within the water. Unlike in athletics, no prosthetics are allowed during competition. And visually impaired swimmers have assistance from tappers, who warn of the approaching wall and the need to turn, or to make certain of a firm contact at the finish. There are 14 different classes in Paralympic swimming. S1 to S10 classes are for athletes with a physical impairment, S11 to S13 for athletes with a visual impairment, and S14 is for athletes with an intellectual impairment. The lower the classification number, the greater the impact an athlete's impairment has on their ability to perform each stroke. Breaststroke requires greater leg power than any other stroke, so athletes with a physical impairment often compete in a different classification than they do in freestyle, backstroke and butterfly. Visually impaired swimmers in class S11 are also required to wear blackened goggles in all their events to ensure fair competition. Paralympic swimming, the competition. 600 swimmers compete, with 148 gold medals to be won, 81 for men, and 67 golds for women. If a discipline has 8 competitors or less, then only the final is contested. In all other cases, there are preliminary heats from which the 8 fastest swimmers qualify for the final. Athletes require speed, strength, and immense determination to compete at the highest level. Races often go right down to the last couple of strokes, making for exciting and dramatic competition. Let the games begin.
Table tennis has been part of the Paralympics since the first Games in 1960. It was one of the first sports to open up to all disability classes. All the action is taking place here at Excel in the heart of London's Docklands. Paralympic table tennis, the stats. The table is 1.53 metres wide, 2.74 metres long, and 76 centimetres off the ground. The net is 1.83 metres wide and 15.25 centimetres high. The ball is 40 millimetres in diameter and weighs only 2.7 grams. 276 athletes will be going for gold. Paralympic table tennis essentials. A player scores a point when his or her opponent fails to return the ball or serve correctly. A point is also scored when your opponent lets the ball bounce twice if they hit the return into the net, or the return fails to hit the table on your side of the net. Play begins with a serve, which must bounce first on the server's side of the net, clear the net, and then bounce in the opponent's court. If the serve clips the net but lands in the opponent's court, the rally is a let and the serve is retaken. In a rally, players use 2 principal types of shot, the forehand and the backhand. Attacking shots include the flick and the smash. For these, topspin is generally used, causing the ball to dip and then bounce sharply. It is achieved by hitting the ball with an up and forward stroke. Defensive shots include the lob, one of the most impressive moves. Players tend to use backspin. They propel the ball in the air only to land on the opponent's side of the table with great amounts of spin and as close to the net as possible. Paralympic table tennis, the tournament. Paralympic table tennis is split into two forms at the Games, standing and wheelchair. Athletes compete in classes according to their functional ability. There are 29 gold medals to be won, 16 men's and 13 women's. It's the best of 5 games. Each game is first to 11, but you have to win by 2 clear points. There are singles and team events. In the singles, there is a round-robin group stage followed by knockout rounds. In the team, it's a straight knockout tournament. Long rallies are common in this explosive game. The ability to read the spin of the ball is crucial. Fast and exciting, table tennis is a thrilling spectator sport. Let the games begin.
Archery developed as a competitive sport in medieval England. It featured in the first Paralympic Games in Rome in 1960 and has remained in the programme ever since. All the action is taking place here at the historic Royal Artillery Barracks in Woolwich. Paralympic Archery Essentials. The object of Paralympic archery is to shoot arrows as close as possible to the centre of the target from a distance of 70 metres. Each of the 10 rings on the target is a scoring zone. You score 1 point for hitting the outer ring and a maximum of 10 points for hitting the centre. There are 3 Paralympic archery classifications: standing, wheelchair 1 and wheelchair 2. There are 2 types of bows, the recurve bow and the compound bow. The recurve bow features limbs that curve away from the archer to increase power. The compound bow uses wheels or pulleys to reduce the force required to hold the string at full draw, allowing the archer more time to aim with less muscular stress. Archers standing or in a wheelchair will position themselves at a 90-degree angle to the target and may use body support and a mechanical release aid. Paralympic archery, the stats. The target measures 1.22 meters in diameter. The center, which is called the gold, measures 12.2 centimeters, approximately the size of a CD. Arrows are made up of 4 parts: the nock, fletchings, shaft, and point. The diameter of the arrows can be as little as 5.5 millimeters, and their length is determined by the archer's arm length. On release, arrows can reach speeds in excess of 150 miles per hour. Paralympic archery, the tournament. 140 archers compete for 9 gold medals, 5 for men and 4 for women. There's an individual event and a team event. Both competitions are played in a knockout format until the last 2 archers go head-to-head in the gold medal match. Individual matches are the best of 5 sets, with each athlete shooting 3 arrows per set. The winner of a set receives 2 points. In the event of a tie, 1 point each is awarded. The first athlete to accumulate 6 points wins the match. And if the match is tied at 5-all, there's a single arrow shoot-off. In the team event, each team consists of 3 athletes shooting 24 arrows, 8 per athlete. The team with the highest total score wins the match. Archery is a sport of fine margins, demanding accuracy, focus, and skill. Who will be on target? at London 2012.
Paralympic equestrian made its debut in 1984 and has been a regular fixture in the Games since Atlanta in 1996. All the action is taking place here in the beautiful surroundings of London's Greenwich Park. Paralympic equestrian essentials. The equestrian competition consists purely of dressage, and there are 3 different tests. A team test with 3 or 4 riders per team. An individual championship test made of predetermined movements in a specific order. And the freestyle test, where the competitors choose both the movement and music. Men and women compete against each other on equal terms. Riders compete in one of 5 grades based on a classification which assesses their impairment. The level of difficulty of the test they perform is relative to their allocated grade. Certain non-standard devices are allowed for some competitors. For example, rain bars and specially adapted saddles. Paralympic equestrian, the competition. At London 2012, 78 athletes will compete for 11 gold medals. Riders compete for medals in the individual championship test and in the freestyle test. Team medals are decided by adding together the results of the team test and the individual championship test to give an overall team score, with the best 3 scores in each team of 4 counting. In Paralympic dressage, the horse and rider perform a series of movements in an all-weather arena before a panel of 5 judges. These judges award scores out of 10 for both individual movements and the overall aesthetic of the routine, which are then converted into a percentage. Requiring an incredible level of understanding, equestrian showcases horse and rider in perfect harmony. Let the games begin. Rowing made its Paralympic debut just 4 years ago in Beijing. At London 2012, all the action is taking place here at Eton Dorney, in the shadow of Windsor Castle, just outside London. Paralympic rowing essentials. Paralympic rowing is commonly referred to as adaptive rowing, which means that the equipment is adapted so the athlete can practice the sport rather than the sport being adapted to the athlete. Boats vary according to the athlete's impairment. There are 2 types of Paralympic rowing. Sweep, where rowers use a single oar, and sculling, where they use 2. There are 4 Paralympic classes: the coxed 4, double sculls, and men's and women's single sculls. The coxed 4 is a 4-person mixed-gender boat with a cox. Competitors have movement in the legs, trunk and arms, and the team can include a maximum of 2 visually impaired rowers. Double sculls is a 2-person mixed-gender boat for rowers with trunk and arm movement only. Single sculls is a fixed seat boat for athletes who have full movement of their arms and shoulders only. Paralympic rowing, the competition. All races are held over a 1,000-metre course with a maximum of 6 boats competing. 96 rowers will compete for 4 gold medals alongside 12 coxswains. Each event has a heat format. The top 2 boats from each heat qualify directly for the final. Remaining boats then compete in 2 repechage races, which offer a second chance to qualify for the final and row for gold. Rowing requires strength, stamina and endurance as athletes push themselves to the limit. The race is on. It's believed that the first shooting clubs were formed in Germany during the 13th century. The sport joined the Paralympics at the Toronto Games in 1976. At London 2012, all the action is taking place here at the historic Royal Artillery Barracks. Paralympic shooting essentials. Shooting is open to athletes of any impairment. Competitors use pistols or rifles to fire at static targets, and they shoot from a variety of positions: standing, sitting, or prone, at distances of 10 metres, 25 metres, and 50 metres depending on the event. The target is made up of 10 scoring rings, decreasing in value by 1 point towards the outer edge in the qualification rounds. The centre ring is the bullseye, worth 10 points. In the finals, the rings are subdivided into 10 decimal score zones, the bullseye worth 10.9 points. Additional devices can be used in Paralympic shooting, like a shooting chair for wheelchair athletes and a shooting table for the prone events. This sport is all about coordination, balance, control and precision. Paralympic shooting, the competition. 140 athletes are taking part. There are 12 gold medals to be won in the men's, women's and mixed events. Athletes compete in 2 classes. SH1 is for athletes who can support the weight of the firearm themselves. And SH2 is for athletes who use a shooting stand to support their arm. In the qualification round, athletes fire a given number of shots in an allotted time, depending on the event. For example, in the mixed 10-metre air rifle prone event, athletes get 60 shots in 75 minutes. The top 8 after qualification move forward to the final. In the final, athletes fire a further 10 shots, each one fired individually under timed conditions, the results of which are totalled and added to the qualification round to determine the overall winner. If scores are tied, there is a shoot-off. Over 8 days, Paralympic shooting will offer plenty of drama as the top athletes go head-to-head. Set your sights on some tense competition and let the games begin.
Judo is the only Paralympic martial art. Derived from Jiu-Jitsu, the ancient hand-to-hand combat of samurai warriors, it has its origins in 19th century Japan. Men's Paralympic Judo first appeared at the Seoul Games in 1988, with women's events introduced in 2004 in Athens. This time round, the action is taking place here at Excel, in the heart of London's Docklands. Paralympic Judo Essentials. Matches are fought on a 10 by 10 metre mat known as a tatami. Practitioners are called judoka. Their ultimate aim is to achieve ippon, which gains the maximum score and guarantees immediate victory. This can be done by forcefully throwing your opponent on their back, by gaining submission from an arm lock or a stranglehold, or by immobilising them for 25 seconds, which is called osaekomi. If no ippon is achieved, the contest is won by the judoka who has scored the most points through a variety of different holds and throws. All the athletes are blind or visually impaired. Athletes who are completely blind are identified by a red circle on the sleeves of their uniform. Competitors who are deaf have a blue circle on their back. Paralympic judoka have contact with their opponents before each contest begins, and the referee warns competitors when they are nearing the edge of the mat. Paralympic Judo, the tournament. There are 13 gold medals on offer, with 132 athletes taking part, 84 men and 48 women. Each match lasts 5 minutes unless ippon is achieved. If the scores are tied at the end, there is a golden score period where the first score of any kind wins. If there is still no winner, the contest is decided by the referee and 2 judges. Judoka are divided into 4 groups. The winners of each group go through to the semi-finals, and the winners of the semi-finals meet in the gold medal match. All judoka defeated by the semi-finalists compete in a repechage. Highly skilled Paralympic judoka require expert technique, balance and focus, so they can resist their opponent's attack and launch their own. Hajime!
After its debut as weightlifting in the 1964 Tokyo Paralympic Games, the sport now known as powerlifting underwent a major transition, expanding from a competition restricted to male lifters with spinal cord injury to include all athletes. All the action is taking place here at Excel in the heart of London's Docklands. Powerlifting essentials. The powerlifting competition consists of a bench press. Competitors must lower the weighted bar to their chest, hold it motionless, and then press it upwards to arm's length with their elbows locked. Amputee powerlifters can lift wearing their prosthetic limb. Athletes are given 3 attempts, and the winner is the athlete that lifts the largest weight. Powerlifting, the competition. 200 powerlifters will be competing for 20 medals at London 2012. Powerlifters are split into 10 different categories based on body weight per gender. Each competitor has 2 minutes to complete their attempt. 3 referees judge whether a lift has been successful by choosing either a red or a white light. Powerlifting offers a tense and dramatic sporting spectacle as athletes battle to outlift their rivals. Let the games begin.
Paralympic cycling was established in the 1980s as a sport for the visually impaired, racing on roads using tandems. It quickly evolved to include many impairments and different types of cycle, and made its Paralympic debut in Atlanta in 1996. It's all happening here at the new state-of-the-art velodrome in the Olympic Park. Paralympic track cycling, essentials. There's more action than ever before. Athletes are competing for a record number of 18 gold medals. 10 events for the men, 7 for the women, and 1 mixed. The bikes are incredibly light, weighing not much more than 7 kilograms. A tandem is used by athletes with visual impairment. The athlete sits on the back with a sighted pilot on the front. In the sprints, only tandems are used. All other athletes ride bicycles, often with modifications for use with prosthetics. Paralympic track cycling, the competition. The events include the men's and women's individual time trial, which is one race over 500 meters or 1 kilometer, depending on the athlete's impairment. The individual pursuit lasts 3 or 4 kilometers. The final is between the 2 riders with the fastest times from a qualifying round. In the sprint tandem, cyclists compete in a 200-meter time trial to determine rankings for the first round of the finals. After which, a best-of-3 ride format is used in the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and final. In the mixed team sprint, there are 3 riders per team, with a qualification round followed by the final. The first rider is usually a sprinter who can reach top speed quickly. A long-distance sprinter is usually second, with a 1-kilometer specialist last. Positional sense, including the use of the slipstream, can be vital, as are the aerodynamics, both in the design of the bike and the racing position of the riders. Track cycling is fast and furious. Races can be won by the smallest of margins. It's all about speed, power, stamina, and tactics. The race is on.
Fast-moving, skillful and competitive, 7-a-side football has been a fixture at the Paralympics since 1984. All the action is taking place here at the brand new Riverbank Arena in the Olympic Park. 7-a-side football, essentials. The playing field is 75 metres in length and 55 metres wide. The goals measure 5 metres by 2 metres. Throw-ins may be made with one hand only. For fouls and corner kicks, defending players must retreat 7 metres. Each team must maintain a lineup of players with varying degrees of impairment. There is no complicated offside rule, so strikers can happily goal hang. This leads to a much more expansive style of football, more end-to-end action and many more goals. Seven-a-side football, the competition. 8 men's teams are competing. 2 groups of 4 teams playing a round-robin format. The top 2 teams from each group qualify for the semi-finals, with the winning semi-finalists going head-to-head for the gold in the final. The bottom 2 teams from the group phase will play classification matches to determine the rankings from 5th to 8th. It's a game of 2 halves, each half lasting 30 minutes. In the knockout stages, if a match finishes in a tie, 20 minutes of extra time are played to find a winner. If there is still no winner after extra time, The match is decided by a dramatic penalty shootout. As some of the world's most prolific goal scorers showcase their spectacular skills, who will strike gold?
Boccia was introduced to the Paralympics at the New York and Stoke Mandeville Games in 1984. Nearly 30 years on, London 2012 plays host to this event here at Excel, right in the heart of London's Docklands. Boccia, the stats. Boccia comes from the same family of sports as boule or bowls. In the Paralympics, it is played by wheelchair athletes on a court measuring 12.5 metres by 6 metres. The balls are made of leather and are slightly larger than a tennis ball, weighing approximately 275 grams and measuring 27 centimetres in circumference. They can be rolled, thrown, kicked, or released down a ramp. The throwing area is divided into 6 rectangular boxes, in which the competitors must remain during play. Boccia Essentials. The aim of the sport is to propel blue or red balls as near as possible to a white target ball called the jack. Each player, pair or team gets 6 balls on each end. Individual and pairs matches consist of 4 ends, while team events are held over 6 ends. The red team starts the opening end by playing the jack first, followed by one of their own red balls. Then the blue team plays their ball. After both teams have played one ball, the side whose ball is furthest from the jack will continue to play until their ball lands closer than their opposition's, or they run out of balls. Boccia balls often get pushed on or knocked out of court, and as a result the score can change dramatically from one shot to the next. Watch out for the jack or nearest scoring ball being moved. At the close of each end, the side whose ball is closest to the jack scores 1 point and receives an additional point for every ball that is closer to the jack than any opposition ball. Boccia, the competition. Boccia is one of the few sports where men and women compete with and against each other. 104 athletes will compete for gold in individual, pairs, and team competitions. These have been divided into 7 events based on classification class. Athletes who are unable to propel the ball independently have a sports assistant on the court and deliver the ball using a ramp. The sports assistant must never look onto the court or communicate in any way. Boccia requires strategy, intense focus and pinpoint accuracy when just one good ball can make all the difference. Prepare to be bowled over. Let the games begin. Developed in the years after World War II, wheelchair fencing was first introduced in Rome in 1960 and has been part of the Paralympic programme ever since. All the action is taking place here at Excel, right in the heart of London's Docklands. Wheelchair fencing essentials. Similar to able-bodied fencing, 3 types of weapon are used: foil, épée, and sabre. The aim is to hit your opponent with your weapon in the permitted target areas. The torso in the foil discipline and anything above the waist in sabre and épée. In foil and épée, points are scored by hitting an opponent with the tip of the weapon. Hits in sabre are more commonly scored with the edge of the blade. Men and women compete at foil and épée, while sabre is exclusively for men. The fencers' wheelchairs are fixed to the floor at an angle of 110 degrees to allow the fencers' sword arms to directly oppose each other. The distance between opponents is decided by the fencer with the shorter arm reach, and the wheelchair positions will be adjusted accordingly. Fencers may not rise from a seated position during the bout. Wheelchair fencing, the tournament. 103 athletes will compete for the 12 gold medals available in the individual and team events. There are 2 competitor classes, A and B, dependent on the degree of the fencer's impairment. Competitors are connected electronically to a scoring box that records hits on their opponent. In the first round of the individual event, fencers are drawn into pools of 5 or 6 competitors and will fight each member of their pool. The later rounds consist of a direct elimination to decide the finalists. In the initial rounds, each bout lasts 4 minutes, and the first fencer to score 5 hits wins. In the knockout stages of the competition, each bout consists of 3 3-minute rounds, with the first to score 15 hits declared the winner. Teams consist of 3 fencers who face each member of the opposing team for 3 minutes, or until one fencer reaches a multiple of 5 hits. The score accumulates until one team scores 45 hits or has the highest score when time runs out for the last bout. If scores are tied, a further minute of sudden death will be contested. Wheelchair fencing is close quarters combat at its best. A fierce, fast-moving battle of tactics and technique. On guard, and let the games begin. Featuring at the Paralympic Games in 1976, goalball is a fast and frantic sport played by the visually impaired that requires skill, tactics, and split-second reactions. All the action is taking place here at the Copper Box in the Olympic Park. Goalball, the stats. The court measures 18 metres by 9 metres. Is divided into 6 equal areas, and each goal set 1.3 metres high. Players must wear eye shades and must not touch them at any time unless agreed by the referee. The ball measures 24 to 25 centimetres in diameter and weighs 1.25 kilograms. It is made of hard natural rubber, but with holes that allow the sound of the bells inside to be heard as the ball moves. Goalball essentials. Each team consists of 3 athletes, with the simple goal of rolling the ball into the opposition's net. Each game is divided into 2 halves of 12 minutes and is separated by a 3-minute break. Teams have just 10 seconds to throw the ball when in possession, and the ball must hit the floor at each of the high ball lines before crossing the goal line to be valid. Each player is permitted to make 2 consecutive throws. A third will incur a personal penalty, and the offending player is forced to face the next throw by themselves. Goalball, the tournament. 132 athletes will compete for gold in the men's and women's competition. In the men's tournament, 2 groups of 6 compete in a round-robin format. In the women's, it's 2 groups of 5. The top 4 teams in each group progress to the knockout stages. Get set for end-to-end action and goals galore. Let the games begin.
Originally used as a form of rehabilitation for war veterans and developed by the founder of the Paralympics, Ludwig Gutmann, wheelchair basketball has featured in every game since its introduction in 1960. London 2012 is hosting the event across 2 venues, the Basketball Arena in the Olympic Park and the North Greenwich Arena on the banks of the River Thames. Wheelchair basketball essentials. The sport is very similar to able-bodied basketball. The court remains exactly the same, measuring 28 metres by 15 metres. The hoop is 45 centimetres in diameter and attached to the backboard 3.05 metres from the floor. Each team consists of 12 players, with no more than 5 on court at any one time. Like able-bodied basketball, players must not travel with the ball and are required to throw or bounce it after every 2 pushes of their wheels. Free throws resulting from a foul scores 1 point. Field goals within the 3-point line score 2 points. And for all field goals scored from anywhere outside the 3-point line, 3 points are awarded. Fouls occur when a player or their wheelchair comes into contact with an opponent. And no player may remain in the area known as the key for more than 3 seconds while their team has the ball, or possession will be awarded to the opposing team. Wheelchair basketball, the tournament. A total of 22 teams compete for 2 gold medals. 12 teams in the men's event and 10 teams in the women's event. In both events, teams are divided into 2 pools and compete in a round-robin format to decide the quarter-finalists, after which a knockout phase decides who contests the final. Each game consists of 4 periods of 10 minutes. Extra periods of 5 minutes are played if scores are tied at the end of regular time. Wheelchair basketball equipment. The wheelchairs used for basketball have evolved rapidly in the last 10 years into the lightweight, easy-to-maneuver titanium chairs used today. The chair is comprised of 2 or 3 small wheels at the front and back, with the 2 larger wheels set outward at a slant to ensure balance and stability. The seat can be no higher than 21 inches and must include footrest at least 5 inches off the floor. Players are strapped into the chair, so any slight body turn will see the wheelchair react with you to help achieve maximum agility. This is a fast and frenetic sport requiring good hand-eye coordination and stamina. It's time to shoot some hoops.
Wheelchair rugby is fast, fierce, and not for the faint-hearted. Invented in 1977 and originally called murder ball, it made its Paralympic debut in Sydney 2000. At London 2012, all the action is taking place here at the basketball arena in the Olympic Park. Wheelchair rugby, the stats. Wheelchair rugby is played on a regulation-sized hardwood court, measuring 28 metres by 15 metres. There is a centre line with a circle and a key area of 8 metres by 1.75 metres at each end of the court, which act as a defensive or attacking zone. At each end, there is a goal line, which is marked by 2 cones. Wheelchair rugby, essentials. Unlike in rugby union or league, points are awarded for scoring goals, not tries, and are each worth 1 point. To score a goal, a player must be in possession of the ball whilst crossing the goal line, with the 2 wheels of a player's wheelchair touching the floor. Each team has up to 12 players. Only 4 players from each team can be on court at any time. A team may play with a maximum of 8 classification points. Teams have 12 seconds to move the ball from their half of the court into the opposition's half, and have 40 seconds to score a goal, or they must hand over possession. The player in possession must bounce or pass the ball within 10 seconds of receiving it, and an attacking player can't spend more than 10 seconds in the opposition's key area. This is a full contact sport, and clashes between wheelchairs is very much part of the game, unless it is judged as being dangerous. For this reason, hitting another player from behind is not permitted. Defensive tactics include stealing the ball, and teams in possession use blocking tactics to create goal-scoring opportunities for more attacking members of the team. Defensive and technical fouls result in a player receiving a 1-minute penalty on the sidelines. Wheelchair rugby, the tournament. 8 mixed teams compete for just 1 gold medal. It is one of the few sports where men and women play with and against each other. 2 groups of 4 compete in a round-robin format, with the top 2 teams in each group qualifying for the semi-finals. The semi-final winners then meet to decide the gold medal. Games consist of 4 8-minute quarters. If the game is tied at the end of normal play, 3-minute overtime periods are played. Wheelchair rugby, equipment. There are different types of wheelchairs. Attacking wheelchairs, primarily used by the higher classification point players, are rounded so they can spin and maneuver their way through spaces. Defensive wheelchairs are longer and have a bumper on the front, designed to strike and hold opposing wheelchairs. Wings in front of the main wheels are there to make it harder for the opponents to grip the chair. Players use gloves and adhesives to help ball handling. What better place for wheelchair rugby to celebrate its 25th anniversary than here at the basketball arena at London 2012. Let battle commence.
Invented in the 1950s in the Netherlands, sitting volleyball made its Paralympic debut with a men's tournament in 1980. And the women's competition was added in 2004. All the action is happening here at Excel, in the heart of London's Docklands. Sitting volleyball, the stats. The court measures 10 metres by 6 metres and is divided by a net which is 1.15 metres high for men and 1.05 metres high for women. On each side of the net, 2 metres from the centre line, there is a parallel attack line, creating 2 zones: the front court and back court. The ball measures 65 to 67 centimetres in circumference and weighs between 260 and 280 grams. Sitting volleyball essentials. Sitting volleyball is played by 2 teams of 6, with a further 6 players on the bench. Play begins with a service. The main aim is to stop the ball from hitting the floor in your half of the court and to force your opponent into making a mistake. If the opposition hit the ball out or allow the ball to touch the ground, they lose a point. Teams can hit the ball no more than 3 times in succession. And no single player can hit the ball twice consecutively unless in both circumstances the first touch is a block. The key moves within a phase of play are serve, pass, set, spike, block and dig. Only the 3 players in the front court can attack or block in front of the 2-metre attack line. When a team wins back the service, they each have to rotate 1 position clockwise. Sitting volleyball, the tournament. 10 teams will be playing in the men's event and 8 teams in the women's event. The teams in the men's tournament are divided into 2 pools of 5, with 2 pools of 4 for the women. Each team plays every other team in their pool. The top 4 men's teams in each pool qualify for the quarter-finals. The top 2 teams from each women's pool qualify for the semi-finals. After that, it's a knockout. Matches are the best of 5 sets, first to 25 points. A 5th set is up to 15 points. And in all sets, teams must win by 2 clear points. Sitting volleyball demands excellent reactions, great upper body strength, stamina, balance and concentration. Let's play volleyball!
In the Paralympic Games, the classification system is essential, as it defines which athletes can compete in which sports. Athletes are divided into classes, based on how their impairment affects them on the field of play, in order to allow fair competition. If you're new to classification, it can help to think of why men almost always compete against men, and women almost always compete against women. Or think of it in similar terms to how boxing at the Olympic Games works, where athletes compete in different weight categories, like flyweight or heavyweight. As each sport at the Paralympic Games requires different skills and competencies, the impact of impairment on the performance of the athletes varies. That's why each sport has its own unique classification rules. Some sports feature a wide variety of impairments, In both athletics and swimming, athletes with physical, visual and intellectual impairments compete. Other sports feature fewer types of impairment. For example, only athletes with a visual impairment take part in judo and five-a-side football at the Games. Athletics has the most number of classes due to the number of different running, jumping and throwing events, and the wide variety of athletes that can compete in the sport. In contrast, shooting only has 2 classes. Each athlete competing at a Paralympic Games has already gone through an evaluation to determine their class. This evaluation is conducted by authorized technical officials called classifiers, who are appointed by the International Federation for that sport. This is a long-term, ongoing process which takes place at all major events, before and during competition. It ensures that the athletes are confident they are competing against each other on a level playing field. Classification won't get in the way of your enjoyment as a spectator, and will also help you further appreciate the ability and the performance of the athletes. The Paralympics is not about the impairments. It's all about elite sport. Let the Games begin.